Well, good evening, and thank you for joining us here on a Monday edition of KC Sports Tonight. Here we are on April 21st. I hope everyone had a good week, and I am Mark Poulose, and once again, we have a jam-packed show for you here on KC Sports Tonight. We have four good topics to talk about today, starting with the Chiefs' off-season comments today. Head coach Andy Reid and all-pro quarterback Trent McDuffie met with the media to kind of discuss what's all going on with the beginning of Phase 1 of the off-season. Now, Andy Reid was asked questions on all things football today. Draft, off-season prep, Patrick Mahomes, offensive tackles, everything runs the gamut. But I think the biggest nugget that we heard today has to do with the NFL draft. That's the topic on everyone's mind. That's what's coming up on Thursday. The Chiefs picking 31st overall in the first round. A lot of people thinking the Chiefs need to draft maybe an offensive lineman, defensive lineman. We look back to the Super Bowl quarterback Patrick Mahomes running for his life, unable to really get anything going just simply due to a lack of offensive line. We saw all last year the left tackle spot was a position the Chiefs never really figured out. They tried several different things, and none of that worked. A lot of analysts thinking Chiefs looking at an offensive tackle. But the big nugget today, head coach Andy Reid says that when you're picking there at 31, teams really have to showcase a lot of discipline. This may be a situation where maybe fans, people are clamoring for the team to maybe trade up or trade back. Andy Reid said what you have to do there is pick the best player available. Now, this could be at any position. He said General Manager Brett Veach, he could be ready for the draft today. He said if they were ready for the draft, Brett Veach, right now, Monday night, he'd be able to make a pick. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see who is going to be available there at 31. I know Brett Veach has said the Chiefs need an offensive lineman, a defensive lineman, some help in the quarterback room, and along wide receivers. So there's a lot of big questions as to what the Chiefs could do there at 31. But I think we kind of got a big inkling there from the Chiefs head man today, at least their head coach, saying that they have to take the best player available. Now, one thing, obviously, everything with the Chiefs right now, I think kind of revolves around what's going on with that left tackle position. Last year, the Chiefs drafted Kingsley Suamataia to kind of hopefully be the guy that could be the blindside protector of Patrick Mahomes, but we saw how that experiment went. It didn't really go very well. The Chiefs quickly moving on from Kingsley and making him go to the bench today. We are head coach Andy Reid was asked kind of what's the future plan for Kingsley. Is he going to move inside to guard? And I think that could be a place where we're going to see Kingsley move in the future. Today, head coach Andy Reid was saying that Kingsley has the flexibility to move inside, and that as a young guy going into the NFL last year as a rookie, on the inside is where he really felt more comfortable playing at guard. Speaking of Kingsley, when you're out there at tackle, you're going up against a freak show, a guy that's maybe paid $20 million each and every week whose job is to sack the quarterback. Kingsley wasn't facing players of that caliber in college. We know Kingsley is an outstanding athlete. He tested well. The Chiefs drafted him so high because they do believe in him. But facing those NFL defensive ends, those guys who are a sack can just change the game at any point. It seems, at least with Andy Reid telling us today, Kingsley was not comfortable out there at tackle. And another thing Andy Reid said, obviously he's very involved with the offensive line, is you'll see guys who do start there, maybe starting at guard, they get more comfortable, and then those younger guys are able to move outside, and he might be able to move outside and protect Patrick Mahomes' blind side. So it looks like we might be seeing Kingsley playing left guard this year for the Chiefs, but as always, we're going to have to see what shakes out there on Thursday, because if a good left tackle prospect falls to the Chiefs, that could be something that they're very interested in. Now, again, still speaking of that left tackle, the guy the Chiefs brought in to solve that issue, at least for this year, was Jalen Moore, a former backup from San Francisco. I believe the Chiefs signed him to a 2-year, $30 million contract. Today, Andy Reid was asked about his confidence in Jalen Moore coming in there, because he's tasked with protecting the most important blindside in all of football. Patrick Mahomes needs to have someone that's blocking there. Andy Reid thinks a lot of Moore. He thinks that Moore can really come in here. He was a backup, but as Andy Reid said, he was backing up one of the best players of all time at his position there in San Francisco. And then when Jalen got the chance, he really came in, stepped up, and shined. So a lot of things going on there, but it seems the Chiefs confident in Jalen Moore. Going to be very interested to see what they do there, though, at 31. Should, as a lot of industry people expect, one of those offensive tackle spots, guys that maybe Josh Connerly out of Oregon could be one of the guys that the Chiefs pick there. We're going to have to wait and see. But the reason we were talking to head coach Andy Reid today is because the Chiefs are beginning phase 1 of their off-season workouts, and a lot of what's going on right now is purely virtual. Today when we met with Andy Reid, when we met with Trent McDuffie, it was all done via Zoom. They were, at least head coach Andy Reid was there at the facility. And Andy Reid was actually asked about the virtual nature of these offseason workouts. It's actually something that happened due to COVID, because before they'd have to come, all the players would have to stop their offseason, come to the facility, come here for a couple weeks of practice and get their work in, a couple weeks of meetings and get their work in and their information gathered that way. Now, after COVID, a lot of these players, including McDuffie, who did not appear to be in Kansas City, I think he said he was in California, or Patrick Mahomes, who was down in Texas with his family and friends, this offseason, the virtual nature of what COVID forced these teams to do seems to be something that the NFL has adopted. Head coach Andy Reid said this is a benefit to them. This is something that they can do. But actually, speaking to Trent McDuffie today, he said the one thing that's a challenge about this is staying focused. So he's asked, how do you stay focused? And he picked up a notebook and said, you have to take notes. Because I guess he said they sit there for about 2 hours, learn film, watch what worked last year, what didn't work last year, what they want to keep from last year, all that kind of stuff. And he said the best way to stay involved is you got to have notes, because you're not there with your guys. But it sounds like those film sessions are pretty intense there. But it seems like what they're doing is working, as they've won 2 of the last 3 Super Bowls, obviously losing last year's. Andy Reid, a couple more things he was talked about today. He was asked about Gardner Minshew, the new backup quarterback here for Patrick Mahomes. And an interesting nugget that came out of this was this is actually going to be the first time in Patrick Mahomes' career that he's had a backup that is younger than him. Andy said that Gardner and Patrick don't have too much of a personal relationship, but they do have a professional one. They are aware of each other. They've talked back and forth. And it's going to be interesting to see where Gardner kind of fits in here on this team as the backup. The last couple of years we saw Carson Wentz. We've seen Chad Henne. Those really aren't guys who are necessarily always putting the ball in harm's way. Gardner Minshew, he'll chuck the football. So interesting to see a guy like that be tabbed to be the Chiefs' backup quarterback, but certainly a guy with a lot of potential, a guy that's been a starter in the NFL and a guy that has won games against good teams in the NFL. So it seems that Patrick Mahomes is going to have a great backup. Andy Reid was also asked if Patrick Mahomes was sent a playbook down in Texas, and Andy quickly shot that down, because that's where Patrick Mahomes is right now. He's doing some offseason workouts. He's getting in plenty of work. He's doing his thing. But Andy Reid said no. Actually, they don't send a playbook down there to Patrick Mahomes because that's illegal. The NFL would not allow it. But he said anyway, Patrick's down there. He knows the offense, and the guys that he's working with know the offense. So Andy was not really too concerned about Patrick not having a physical copy, because he's like, hey, I think this guy kind of knows the plays, knows how we run business around here, and he's running his own practices, and I think those have been pretty successful. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So those are the big notes, I guess, from Andy Reid. Our next one kind of leads into Trent McDuffie. Andy Reid was asked about the signing of cornerback Christian Fulton, who came over from the LA Chargers. Actually, he was the guy that picked off Patrick Mahomes on the play where Patrick Mahomes hit Rashee Rice and ended Rashee's season, unfortunately. But he was talking about the addition of Christian Fulton and how that will actually have a ripple effect on Trent McDuffie. Trent McDuffie is an all-pro cornerback. He's only been in the league for 3 years, and 2 times he's been named an all-pro. So it's pretty clear that he is one of the best cornerbacks in all of football. But where McDuffie really thrives is when he gets to move from the outside to the inside. We saw in his first 2 years in the league how really effective he was in Steve Spagnuolo's scheme, just blitzing the passer. He was one of the best blitzing cornerbacks in all of football. And Andy Reid was saying today that a little bit the signing of Christian Fulton will allow them to move McDuffie back to the inside, or if it just creates an option to move McDuffie back to the nickel, where he was just an absolute wrecking ball coming off where closer to the quarterback and getting sacks. So talking to Trent McDuffie today, we asked him, like, hey, they signed Christian Fulton, kind of what's going on with that? Are you going to move more inside? And he said that looks to be like something that they could do. He said in his exit interview with defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo and their DBs coach last year that they were talking about moving McDuffie inside more because they felt he was influencing the game more, or had an ability to influence the game at a greater level from that inside position, just due to the nature of how he plays, his size, and his knack for getting to the quarterback. That's not really something that you see from guys on the outside. Maybe you see cornerbacks not as physical as other players, not really willing to get in there with. I mean, you were going after the quarterback. You're getting in there with the big boys. And Trent McDuffie went in there with no fear, and he was very effective doing that. But he also said he's still open to playing on the outside. He's willing to do that, and he's willing to do whatever it takes to help the team win, because that's that's what he is. That's what the Chiefs want. That's why the Chiefs were so aggressive in trying to trade up and get McDuffie. And I know when their fifth-year options came up that obviously they want to keep both McDuffie and a fellow first-round pick in that year, George Karlaftis, on the team, as they are really, really big contributors. Another fun nugget that we got out of the McDuffie presser today was that he said he missed blitzing last year because his first 2 years in the NFL, that was his first time playing the nickel, his first time being able to do that. So he's like, anytime that he got in the game, he was so excited to get after the quarterback because it was something he was never able to do before. So he wants to get back to doing that. He also is going to miss Justin Reid. Obviously, he said that Justin Reid was a big part of this team's defense. We saw it for 3 years. Justin Reid calling a lot of shots there on the back end of the defense. He was a game-changing player. Justin Reid he's going to be a big loss. He's the big shoes to fill for whoever it is, Brian Cook or any of the Chiefs, Mike Edwards. It could be any of those guys. But McDuffie said obviously he's very sad to lose Justin Reid, but he's confident in the guy that they have, and he thinks that, this is a business. Next man up mentality. The Chiefs are going to be able to do that. One last thing I want to talk about with McDuffie. On the top of this, I actually said that he was a Pro Bowler. That's the situation here. He was not a Pro Bowler. He's a two-time All-Pro, but he was snubbed from the Pro Bowl. Now, usually this isn't that big of a deal, but in the case of Trent McDuffie, it's a $4 million deal because he was in line, obviously, for his fifth-year option next year on his rookie deal. And if he were to make a Pro Bowl, his number, I believe, would be around $17 million, and his number for that option right now is maybe $13 million. So this guy is clearly one of the best corners in all of football, but the fans didn't recognize that. And because the fans didn't recognize that, McDuffie misses out on a big payday. And it's a real unfortunate situation. We bring that up because Justin Reid, he was one of the big campaigners for McDuffie, kind of saying that this situation, allowing the fans to vote on something that impacts players' contracts, it just really shouldn't be something that is, because Trent McDuffie, if you just evaluate his play on the field and his impact on the Chiefs, he is clearly deserving of that $4 million. But because some fans who maybe don't live in Kansas City, aren't familiar with McDuffie, didn't vote for him to get in the Pro Bowl, he lost out on a huge payday. I hope to see maybe the NFL finding a way to rectify that, because I think a two-time All-Pro should be willing to get that escalator in his rookie deal. Rather, the All-Pro should be the nod, not the Pro Bowl. So we'll kind of see what goes on with that. Might be a little bit out of control, but hey, we're going to start that petition because Trent deserves it. But one more on that. He said the money will take care of itself as long as he does his job. That's what matters. And he said, hey, there's a lot of people that want to be in my position. I've won 2 Super Bowl rings, and he's all about the team. That's the stuff you want to hear out of a guy in that kind of situation. All right, now we're going to move from the gridiron to the diamond, where the losing streak for the Kansas City Royals is thankfully and finally over. They had lost 6 games in a row before yesterday. They beat the Detroit Tigers 4-3. The Tigers actually leading the American League Central. But this is a Royals team that now just has 9 wins in the first 23 games of the season. And I know a lot of fans, a lot of people on the outside, even industry experts, baseball analysts from all around the country did not expect the Royals to get off to such a slow start. The Royals, a playoff team a year ago, they were the first team to lose 100 games in one season and then win a playoff series the next. It seemed like they were really going to turn the corner. They have arguably, one of the top 3 best players in all of baseball. Bobby Witt Jr. is an absolute superstar. And then they come out of the gates today, or this year, and they're 9-14 in the first 23. It's really not what we expected. But the good news is for the Royals is they are returning home. They have a 6-game homestand. The Royals, so far, I think they played 13 games on the road. They are 3-10 away from Kauffman Stadium. So they haven't won a lot of games this year, but when they do, they win them here at home. They got a 3-game set this week against the Rockies, a 3-game set right after that against the Houston Astros. And then coming up on Sunday on KSMO, on our air, the Royals are going to take on Houston in the homestand series finale. So you're going to want to watch that on KCTV5. No streaming, no subscription required. We got you. On KSMO, we got that. But the Royals, they're going to need to turn some things around. It's pretty plain and clear. The offense just isn't getting the job done right now. Yesterday they scored 4 runs, but it had been more than 2 weeks since they had reached that number. And I don't know what the updated number is, but through their first 20 games, they had scored 59 runs. I don't care who's on the mound. You could have Nolan Ryan, Cy Young, Roger Clemens. You could have everyone out there. But if you're scoring less than 3 runs a game, you're not going to win a lot of baseball games. I know the Royals are built to win with pitching and defense and positional versatility, but the lack of offense is alarming. I know they sent down MJ Melendez. He was a guy that the Royals brought up, that was brought to the Major League roster to hit. He was a guy that they were very aware was maybe defensively had shortcomings as a catcher. Defensively, he does make some good plays in the outfield, but this is a guy that they were relying on that really wasn't hitting. We saw him get optioned down to AAA. We saw Vinny Pasquantino going from the 4 spot down to the 7 spot the 3 spot in the lineup down to the 7 spot yesterday, getting a big RBI. So there has been some movement there in the lineup, but these Royals, they need to start hitting. I know Bobby Witt Jr., he's above 300. Mikel Garcia is actually having an outstanding start to the season, but some of these other guys that are at the end of the lineup, Kyle Isbell batting there in the 9 hole. I know he's a great defender, but at a certain point, the players on the field have got to be able to get on base. The Royals can't run a lineup out there of 6 good hitters and 9 good defenders, and 6 hitters can hit and 3 of them are automatic outs. That you can't play baseball that way. You have to score more runs than the other team, and the Royals right now, their formula for doing that, it hasn't looked that great on the field. But the good news is, as we said earlier, they're returning home, and this is about as bad as they could play. If they get a couple guys turning on those bats, Vinny turns on the bat, Salvi turns on the bat, Jonathan Indy at the top of the lineup, he's been playing well, but if he continues to play well, I think things could look really, really different. So we're going to have to see what the Royals do. But just as a reminder, one more time, we're going to let you know Sunday, Royals, Astros, KSMO. We'll see you there, 1:10 p.m. Next, 2 more topics got for you, both coming from the soccer pitch. We're going to start with Sporting Kansas City on Saturday. Late game, they're out on the West Coast taking on San Jose. And a night game, 9:40 kick, and the Sporting KC, what has gotten into them? 3 games under Kerry Zavagnin. First half of this game, they scored 3 goals. They scored 5 total against San Jose to win that one 5-3. It was the first time since 2018 that Sporting KC had scored 5 goals in an away game. So clearly something is going on with Sporting KC. Kerry Zavagnin was asked after the game, you guys have scored a lot of goals, but kind of what's going on? They've scored in the 3 games under Kerry, they've scored 9 goals, but they have given up 7. So obviously they're 2-1 in those games, 7 goals. That's a lot of goals to give up in 3 games. He said they are still a work in progress on the defensive side of the ball, but they want to become more balanced. Like obviously they can score, but they need to find a way to keep guys out of their goal. But also Daniel Shalhoub just recently named the MLS Player of the Match Day he had 2 goals, 2 assists against San Jose. It had been a long time since anyone had 4 goals contributed in a game, so shout out to Daniel. But he was saying the team kind of acknowledges that they're a little bit of a ways away from having clean sheets. He's like, we have to keep continuing fighting, we have to battle, we have to get better, but we also have to acknowledge that maybe the clean sheet is a goal that might be a little bit out of our reach right now, but could be well within our reach here in the future. But I think it's really good to see Sporting KC moving. I mean, it was crazy when they moved on from Peter Vermees. It was a moment in time in Kansas City sports history. A Kansas City sports legend. They have to build a statue outside of out of Children's Mercy Park for Peter. But you kind of wonder, 6 games into the season, you fire franchise icon. What's going to happen? Is the team going to fall apart? Is the organization kind of going to go start spinning the wheels in the mud because you lost a guy that was so critical to what you did? And here we are, small sample size, 3 games in, but the team's 2-1, and they're playing with a lot different energy. 5 goals. It's been 7 years since they had scored 5 goals in an away game, so clearly there has been a change in tactics. They are finding a way to get in the back of the net. And so Kerry Zavagnin, we know co-principal owner Michael Illig, when they got rid of Peter Vermees, said that this is Kerry Zavagnin's job to lose. He also said that they're doing a global search. So, but I have to say, early returns for interim head coach Kerry Zavagnin, 2-1, and the team looks different. They're moving different. The results on the field are different. I think that's good because Illig was saying they made this move, getting rid of Vermees, because there's still time left in this season. So it looks like Sporting KC is starting to turn the tide, but still a lot of soccer left to be played. We have to see how that season finishes for them. But one team that has started the year absolutely on fire is the KC Current. They are 5-0-0. They are at the top of the table in the NWSL, and I don't even know where to begin with this team because they're on fire. I mean, the other teams know that CPKC Stadium has magic. They know the Current have magic. They know that the Current are one of the best teams in the entire league, and that, what I'm saying is the Current play with a target on their back each and every day, and each and every game they go out there and they perform, which is very. They're playing with pressure, and they're playing like they're not. It's been an absolutely unbelievable start to the season with them. I know this past weekend they won 2-0 against the Houston Dash, but maybe So they scored 2 goals in that game, but the moment after the game that the players, the media, and head coach Vlatko Andonovski were talking about was a defensive moment made by Debinha in the first half. I think it was about the 27th minute. Houston was like screaming up the side of the field, about to come for attack, and Debinha, who's a forward, which is why we're bringing this up, ran all the way back onto the current half of the field, made a huge tackle to prevent the attack, and that is what Vlatko is saying is the team's DNA. He's like, that is what makes us who we are and why we are what we are. Because that was a forward who's used to scoring goals, one of the most creative players in the entire game. On the broadcast, they're saying she's one of the most creative players in the entire world. Running back, hustling on the defensive side of the ball for the betterment of her team. It got a huge cheer from the crowd, a huge cheer from her coach, and a huge cheer from her teammates. So it's very interesting to hear. Obviously, we see the Current, we see all the goals scored, but how about the goals not allowed? It's been more than 400 minutes since the Current have allowed a goal. So we see the fireworks, but it's the backside of that defense that's really coming up clutch. And I have to say, one big point of that is it has to do with Debinha, is that the players are saying this, Vlatko is saying this, is that they really defend with attack in mind, but the reason they are able to defend so well is that their forwards are willing to come back. There was a Kayla Sharples, new to the team this year. She was saying that it's not like that on every team. You don't have forwards. You don't have a player of the caliber of Debinha that's willing to come back and defend it the way that she did. So the KC Current, things are going great there. She's feeling good. Good stuff going on, top of the table, good for them. One note to close, KU former track and field athlete won the Boston Marathon today, the women's side. She blew out the record. I think she beat it by nearly 2 minutes, maybe a little bit more than that, so shout out to her. Big win for the Jayhawks, but a lot going on here in the world of Kansas City sports. A big week ahead. The big topic on everyone's mind, the NFL draft, that is coming up on Thursday. Our sports team, we're going to have you covered every step of the way. I know Marlia and Neil are working on all that. Actually, Marlia's working on some stuff right now. So stick with us. Point being, we're going to have you covered. Best in the business right here, KCTV5. And also, one more time, I'm going to keep saying it so you don't forget. Coming up on Sunday, KSMO, 1:10 p.m. The Royals taking on the Astros. No subscription needed, free over the air. You're going to want to watch it. Royals hopefully turning things around. All right, guys, thanks and have a good one.